Hello everyone, this is Brightfield721 and welcome to my first Magic the Gathering video. I will be showing you guys a custom deck that I recently made, and it's been working pretty well so far when playing games against people. It is kind of sort of an Elves tribal deck, but not really. It has a little bit of Elvish tribal, but it also has some extreme life gain and pretty powerful stuff in here, honestly. So yeah, the first thing you're going to start out with when building this deck is 4 Llanowar Elves. The reason is because it's basically turn basically on turn 2 you can have 3 mana to spend, which allows you to get stuff out of your hand really quickly. And if you have all 4 of them in your starting hand, turn 1 you play Llanowar Elves. Turn 2 you've got 2 lands and you've got something to tap for green mana. Use all those to play your other 3 Llanowar Elves. So it's pretty useful. Now, the next card you're going to want is Stinging Shot. Now, any version of this card will work. It doesn't have to be Stinging Shot. I chose Stinging Shot because I wanted to stay mono green. Stinging Shot allows you to take care of those dangerous flying creatures that you don't have anything to counter them with, and allows you to, if it's later in the game and your opponent doesn't have any flying creatures, or maybe they do, but you've got your other ways of dealing with them. It allows you to, for 2 mana, or just by tapping 2 Llanowar Elves, it allows you to get new cards into your hand and get through your deck faster. Now, Llanowar Scout is another useful card. It's really useful especially because of Tireless Tracker, which is a card later in this deck, that you'll see later in this deck video. But Llanowar Scout is, we're running 4 of these, just like with the Stinging Shots and Llanowar Elves. It allows you to put an extra card onto the battlefield, an extra land card on the battlefield, which is really useful, especially in this deck because there are cards based on, there are some cards that really reward you for putting lands on the battlefield. And you can use any other card that'll do that, but it helps with the elf portion. Now the next thing is Druid of the Cowl. This card is basically a more expensive Llanowar Elves, but it has a bit more toughness, so it's a bit harder for opponents to remove them, and to remove it with kill spells. And there's 4 of those as well. The next card is Kamal's Druidic Vow. You're going to be running 2 of them, and it has an X cost, so it's technically 2 converted mana cost. For those of you who don't know, converted mana cost, when counting converted mana cost, it's just whatever symbols are up here, and if this was a number right here, the converted mana cost would be 2 plus whatever that number is. But since that's an X, technically it counts as a 0 when counting converted mana cost. Casting cost is a completely different thing. If you pay 5 for the X value, your casting cost is 7 because it's 2 green and 5 generic. But because it's not an actual number, your converted cost is going to be 2, which is helpful because you can cast this early on. And it allows you to look at some of the top cards of your library and just basically fish for land. And fish for this next card, Marwyn the Nurturer. Marwyn the Nurturer is a legendary creature that gets a +1/+1 counter every time an elf enters the battlefield. Every time another elf enters the battlefield, I'm sorry. And you can use it to get mana equal to its power. And now here's one of the big guys of the deck. It'll be shortly followed by another big guy of the deck, but Tireless Tracker. This is why it's so important to have those land fetching cards in this deck. Now, any land fetching cards will work, as I said earlier, but it's always better to have creatures that can do it, especially elves, for Marwyn the Nurturer's sake. Whenever a land enters, you get a clue token, and whenever you sacrifice that clue token, you get a +1/+1 counter on Tireless Tracker, which is useful, especially if you have 4 of them. When land enters, you get 4 clue tokens, and then if you have 8 mana to spend, you can spend that 8 mana and get 4 +1/+1 counters on each tireless tracker. It's really useful. So you want to have 4 tireless trackers. It's very good to have. Next card is Silk Weaver Elite. Silk Weaver Elite is a very useful card because you can sacrifice clue tokens and then play this card, and you get to draw a card. So it's almost as, and it's very useful for getting more lands out of your deck early game, and late game it's just useful for getting other things that you might need out. Next card there's going to be 4 of. It's Gift of Paradise. There are when it enters, you'll gain 3 life, which is obviously useful, especially once there's 4 of them, and it allows whatever land you enchant to add 2 mana of any one color to your mana pool. So let's say you have a black card in here, but you don't want to put any swamps in the deck. You can just put this on a forest, and you get 2 black mana whenever you tap that forest if you want to, or 2 white, or 2 red, or 2 blue, or 2 green. Now this next card plays in with the clues quite well. It's Graph Mole. Graph Mole allows you to gain 3 life for each clue you sacrifice. If you have all 4 of them on the field at once, because we're running 4 of these again, you gain 12 life every time you sacrifice a clue. And the next card that we have, Tamio's Journal, look at that bottom ability there. Sacrifice 3 clues and search your library for a card, then put that card into your hand, shuffle your library. If you use that ability, you gain 9 life here, 9 life for this one, 9 life for this one, and 9 life for this one. You gain, in total, 36 life just for using that ability. It's really useful. Plus, you would then also get 3 +1/+1 counters on each of your tireless trackers that you have out. And then finally, Tamio's Journal is the last card that you really need to worry about. And it's at the beginning of your upkeep, you get a clue token. And I just told you what the bottom ability is, but I'll restate it just because it'll be, some of you may not have really heard it the first time. But basically, you sacrifice 3 clue tokens, you get to search your library for whatever card you want. You don't even have to tell your opponent, you don't have to show your opponent, you get to search for whatever you want. And then you don't have to reveal it, you just get to put it straight in your hand without revealing it, and then you shuffle your library. That's really useful, because you could have a really powerful card that costs a lot, or maybe there's only one of it in the deck, and maybe it costs a lot and you have the mana for it, but you just don't have it in your hand yet. You can search through your library for it by using this ability. Now we're running 2 of those, because they're both legendary. Obviously it's a legendary card, so if one of them gets destroyed and you don't have any way of bringing it back, you have a second one to fall back on. And then we're going to run 24 forests in this deck. Now you can replace forests with any other form of green mana, but you basically want it to be mostly green mana. Now obviously you can change some of these cards out for black cards or white cards or red cards, and then you'll want to add mana of your own. But really, this is just kind of how you want to have it set up. 24 lands is what you need, and then 36 cards that all have to do with clue tokens and mana. And it's really helpful to have that, because having the extra tap for mana abilities allows you to be able to sacrifice more clues. If I have 12 clues out there, and I have 10 +1/+1 counters, or 11 +1/+1 counters on Marwyn the Nurturer, I can sacrifice 6 of those clues just by tapping 1 creature. And all 6 of those clues will give me 3 life for each Graph Mole, and a +1/+1 counter on each tireless tracker. And so you have 6 +1/+1 counters on each tireless tracker being added, and then you're gaining 18 life from each Graph Mole. And let's see if I can do the math really quick. 4 times 8 is 24, plus 40. You've got 64 mana there. Oh, not 64, sorry. 4 times 8 is 32, plus 40. You got 72 mana. Simple. Right there. Or, not mana, sorry. You got 72 life. You gain 72 life. Doing that every turn can do so much for you in the long run, as long as you don't run out of cards in your deck. Because then you can make it basically impossible for your opponent to kill you. And then you swing in for a huge amount with your tireless trackers, and boom, you win the game. And that's basically how I've won my games playing this deck, is by just getting a bunch of clues, sacrificing all of them, waiting until I have enough mana to sacrifice a bunch, sacrifice all of them, gain a ton of life, get a ton of +1/+1 counters, and swing in with my tireless trackers. If you want, you can add some cards in here to give your tireless tireless trackers trample, or make them unblockable or something like that. In fact, that could make this deck a lot better, like using Larger Than Life or Titanic Growth or something like that. But basically, this deck is built around you getting a ton of power, a ton of mana, and a ton of life, giving your opponent no hope of being able to kill you before you have enough power to kill them in one hit. Alright everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. Once again, I am Brykel721, and I would like to thank you for watching again, because it's great to me if you guys watch this. If you enjoy these videos, give me a like on the video. Subscribe to me and get notifications started so that every time I come out with a new video, which I will be coming out with new videos soon, every time I come out with a new video, you guys will notice and be told about it. Comment to let me know what you want to see next as far as Magic decks, like what kind of deck you want. I can work on building them. I'm not the greatest builder, but I am alright at it. And I will see you guys later with a new video coming out within the next few days. Thank you for watching. Peace out.